Great. Hello everyone. As Graham mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders and also the CEO of Talview. Today, I'm going to talk about proctoring, and my objective today is to ensure that, irrespective of where you are in terms of your knowledge level from a proctoring standpoint, you gain something out of the talk. So, I've some description of basics of proctoring to an actual demonstration, along with some very interesting case studies from the UK market, and also talk about where we are going from a proctoring future standpoint. And hopefully, we'll also have a short Q&A towards the end. So a little bit about Talview. We have been in the remote proctoring space for almost 8 years now. Work with some of the largest universities and awarding bodies across the globe, as well as schools, for doing remote proctoring for a large variety of exams. Operate across more than 120 countries, do around a million plus live and other forms of proctored exams every year on the platform. We've also been consistently recognized as a leader in remote proctoring with uh, uh, excellent reviews from our customers and some big awards from some of the biggest thought leaders in the space. So, what really is proctoring trying to address? As some of you are already familiar, it's basically about protecting the integrity of exams and also securing the content IP. I think those are probably the most important two aspects, but it also helps many of our customers with ensuring that you can reach learners or test takers across geographies. It helps to safeguard data compliance and security, as well as in many cases, it also helps you to improve your digital strategy um, in terms of going digital with smartphone devices, as well as lack of actionable insights often when you're doing exams online because of lack of understanding of the learner behavior when you're doing an exam online. There are mainly three modes of proctoring which is practiced in the industry today. AI proctoring, which is where you only have AI monitoring the video and screen feed of a candidate during the exam, and logging events like, for example, face detection or object detection based on the test rules, and then assigning a score to the exam and determining whether the candidate played by the rules. If not, disqualifying the candidate based on that. This is typically used for low stake exams where you're not typically worried about your content IP. You would let the candidate do the entire exam on their own and take a decision on whether to qualify or disqualify the exam or the attempt at the end of the exam. Live proctoring is a second mode, which is considered more high stakes. You would have a human in real time monitoring the candidate on the other side, and here typically they are still assisted by AI. And in case of violations, the candidates are immediately warned and then terminated if they don't stick with the rules. And the third mode, which is kind of somewhere in the middle, it's used for again medium to high stake exams, is record and review, where it's AI which is doing the monitoring and then flagging all the events, but a human would review the events flagged by AI either in real time or post the entire session, and then take a call on if there were false positives or false negatives, and then finally take a call on whether to qualify the attempt or disqualify. What constitutes a good proctoring system? I would say the most important aspect, which often customers do miss, is the ability of your proctoring platform to seamlessly integrate with the learning management system or the test engine which is being used to conduct exams. So there are multiple approaches here. There are iframes, there are JavaScript based integrations, and SDK. So ensuring that the proctoring tool is seamlessly integrated with your test engine or learning management system is kind of the core. Then, when it comes to securing the test content, there are a bunch of capabilities. So, right from verifying the ID of the test taker or the learner, multiple candidate feeds, primary camera, secondary camera, where you can monitor the candidate from the side. I'll show that during the demo. And then screen recording, where you monitor the screen feed of the candidate. Doing a 360-degree environment check, where you're figuring out what's happening in the environment of the candidate. Watermarking the test content, so that you are, if there is any form of leakage, irrespective of all the checks and balances which you have, you're still able to track down to the source of leak and deter candidates from doing it again. And then locking down the entire test environment using a lockdown browser. Typically, from an AI standpoint, there are around 15 plus standard flagging events, which uses primarily capabilities of computer vision, like face detection, where you can check if there is the person in front of the screen is looking at the screen, or are they trying to get access to other devices, or if there are multiple people in front of the camera. Object detection, where you can flag if somebody is bringing in a smartphone or a camera into the video frame and trying to take a picture of the test content. Change of hardware, so anything which typically could be a potential for malpractice can be automatically flagged, which then goes into the review and compliance process depending upon the nature of proctoring, whether it's AI or live proctoring, where typically all these events are fed into a feed for the proctor, either in real time or post facto. And then there is real time communication capability between the proctor and the candidate. And lastly, the key aspect is in terms of how proctoring system helps you to make decision on whether the session or the attempt was qualified or unqualified. So often the best in class proctoring systems generate an automated index, which would help you to determine whether the session was valid or invalid based on all the events which have happened, instead of having to go through each event and having to make that decision on your own. The need for comprehensive audit logs, where you have access to everything which has happened during the session, session report, MIS reports, all those good things which would help you to manage the proctoring process at scale. So, what would a modern comprehensive solution offer us benefits? Obviously, we spoke about multiple layers of protection for content and exam integrity. But beyond that, what you also need to look for is a superior exam experience. Proctoring is an intrusive process, so ensuring that uh, keeping it as non-intrusive as possible, ensuring that it's multilingual, accessible, those are key. Ensuring that the pricing is affordable for the test taker or for your organization. And this is primarily today driven by the use of AI, where AI assists the proctor. And because of the assistance here, the number of candidates a proctor can monitor can be higher. We already spoke about integrating with test engines or the learning management systems, and great support. Test takers would require assistance during the entire process, and ensuring that they get the assistance which they need during the process is very critical. So let's quickly see a demo of how all of this, which I spoke about, manifest in the real world. So I'll show you how the test taker would go through a proctored exam here. So you can see us here, the test taker in this case have received an email invite to take an exam. And here they would go in and then come to the test engine. And once they start the test process, in an ideal scenario, the proctoring process should be as seamless as possible. So before they start the test, we would start with something what we call the pre-onboarding checks, where obviously we need to take permission from the candidate to capture all of their data, give them detailed instructions on what is considered acceptable and what is not. And then I spoke about ID verification. This is a capability where you would ensure that the person in front of the camera who is taking the test is the same person they claim to be. So we do that by doing a face match between the ID photo and the feed which comes from the entire process. And then we also do some additional checks. So once all those checks are done and the test taker is into the exam, you can see on the bottom left corner, the system is continuously monitoring whether the video feed has a face of the candidate. They are not looking elsewhere. And anytime they try to do any malpractice, you can see on the top right corner, there will be flags generated by the system. So if their face is not present, or if they are trying to copy paste answers or try to switch to other tabs, the system will warn them. And if they continue this behavior in spite of warnings, then they would get disqualified from the entire process. At the end of such an elaborate process, what we would end up with is feed like what you can see. So you can see there's a session rating at the top which says that this candidate did violate some of the rules which were part of the process. And then you can go in and see what exactly happened if you want to investigate. You can see their screen, you can see their video. There are multiple feeds which comes through from multiple cameras here. You can see the ID submissions, all of that, and then take a final call on whether to allow this candidate or disqualify the attempt. That's a quick overview of the proctoring process. Now let's move on to some case studies. Sorry. So the first case study I have here is of a large English language test provider, very well known, globally recognized English language test. And when they started working with us, the primary driver was the fact that they were seeing a significant shift in their industry from in-person exams to remote exams. And they selected Talview as the preferred partner based on the capabilities and expertise which we had in this area, and were leveraging our AI and record and review proctoring for different use cases. What this did to their business was they saw that this was not just helping them to cope up with the shift, it became a big catalyst for expansion of their business. They saw significant growth driven by the fact that now they have a much wider geography reach, and they've been able to offer the exams in regions which they were not offering the exams in the past. And with this, they've been now adding new tests to their remote test delivery model, and also adding new certification process with the live remote proctoring capability. Another case study is of a large certification provider who does more than 500 qualifications across 81 countries. They were actually constrained by the pandemic significantly. Their business had come to almost a standstill when the pandemic hit. And what we were able to do for them is to provide live remote proctoring, so that this is a high stake. All of their exams are high stakes. So they were using Talview's highly trained proctors to invigilate this test. And again, here what happened is it not just helped them to deal with the pandemic, but it also helped them to see a significant year-on-year growth, almost 55% year-on-year growth to their business. And now they are exploring new models of proctoring for newer exams, which they are coming up with. And the last case study is of a test engine provider, a digital assessment technology provider who had another proctoring solution before, but it was not seamlessly integrated to their platform. So we did an integration for our live remote proctoring and record and review solution for their assessment platform. And the result was such a seamless integration that the candidate experience was considered one of the best in the industry, which led to major wins for this organization in the marketplace across the globe. And now we are working with them to enhance the integration to add functionalities which are significantly ahead of the market. So when we talk about future of AI in remote proctoring, I think there are a few aspects which are critical. The first thing is ethics. Just like any other process where you're capturing data of a user online, transparency and consent is very important. accessibility and accommodation. I think there are lot of focus in the industry today from an accessibility standpoint, ensuring that there are strong guardrails and constant review of the AI models which are being used. That's critical from a bias and equity standpoint. The proctors, because there is a human element to this entire process, ensuring that the proctors are well trained and are able to uphold the highest ethical standards is crucial. And then accountability, where there should be mechanisms to address if there are any violation in spite of all these controls in place. The other aspect is privacy. As a policy, we collect as minimal data as required. I think privacy is one area where less is more. Ensuring that any data which we're collecting is of maintained with the highest security standards. Ensuring that wherever the use case permit, the entire proctoring process is done in an anonymous manner. If the proctor do not need to know, or that does not need to know who the candidate is, they shouldn't be knowing. Ensuring that the agreements which you have from a proctoring standpoint is not just covering the immediate vendor, but also all the third parties they're working with. And lastly, compliance with all the privacy and other regulations. So when we look at the future of proctoring, it's really about how this would evolve from an adaptive proctoring standpoint. How do we make proctoring more intelligent? Today, there are a lot of false positives and false negatives when it comes to AI proctoring, which a human intervention kind of resolves. How can we train our AI to be as intelligent, or be as being able to make decision on what is considered false positive and false negative is a key area. Blockchain verification. So how do we issue credentials on the blockchain? So anything which is, when you're issuing a certificate, that's being tamper proof on the back of proctoring is crucial. A lot of our customers are getting into metaverse driven exam administration. So how do we ensure that we are proctoring exams in a metaverse environment is a key area where we are doing a lot of investments. Predictive cheating analytics, where with deeper integration with the test engines, we are looking at behavior analysis on the test engine and then using that to trigger additional checks from a proctoring standpoint, which helps from a proctoring standpoint. Privacy enhancement, as I already spoke about, and ethical consideration. So these are all areas where a lot of investment is happening in proctoring today, and we're happy to help everyone with respect to all those aspects.